Worst days I've had in the villa were the ones I spent without you, knowing I was damaging all the foundations that we built.
I feel like my problems go away. I'm able to be myself and not feel any judgment for it.
You make me feel valued, like I'm the most important person in the world.
I know I might be biased, but of the four couples that were left, I think I really felt some type of way. I feel like because there were no solid couples, this is the best that they could do with the final four. This is the best that they could do because had couples like Scott and Jonay or Kyle and Destiny started earlier, maybe through Casa, I don't think the final four would have looked the way it does. Or even if Keenan and KK had stayed in the villa, I don't think this would have been the final four that we had. But because they had no other choice, this is what we're left with. And so it is what it is. I loved the declarations of love. In my opinion, I was really touched by Leo and Cassie and Bergie and Taylor. I felt sort of like they were more genuine, but that's just my opinion. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. It's Valerie. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, leave a comment, and turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island Season 5, Episode 37. I don't want to lie, it's been a struggle for me to watch this episode just because outside of Leo and Cassie, none of the other couples I think deserve to be in the final given the season and what we've watched thus far. But anyway, I have to do it. So we have the Islanders celebrating that they've made the final, and it's like, hey, lucky you! You know, you were the best out of a bad bunch. There was no other perfect couple for us to sort of root for. So what do we do? I guess you'll do. Anyway, you have Bergie have a conversation with Taylor, and they're sort of talking about distance and stuff. It wasn't convincing, in my opinion. Bergie wasn't convincing, in my opinion. I think he's just saying whatever it takes to keep Taylor sweet, and then his plan, I assume, is to go and speak to his family first, see how they truly feel about Taylor, see if he can convince them, and then once that's agreed upon, then maybe he might decide to make things work with Taylor. But he didn't convince me in whatever he said. Um, Leo is ecstatic. I love Leo and Cassie. I think they've had the perfect arc, the perfect growth in their coupling from the moment that Cassie stepped forward for Leo up until now. Everything they've gone through, they haven't been toxic. It's been messy, but it hasn't been toxic. It's been messy. Yes, Cassie's done some bits, Leo's done some bits, but they have always tried to handle their situation in a very mature way, which I have to give them credit for. Leo and Hannah, I know someone was telling me off in the comments that, oh, I'm delusional and stuff. I don't see it. I really haven't seen anything. Outside of Leo in the last episode talking about his mom passing away. And what else? I don't get it. And him and Hannah always making out or having sex all the time. I don't know. I haven't seen their growth. I know he's focused on Hannah. They've agreed to make it work till the end. I'll wait and see life after the villa to be convinced, but they're not convincing me personally. They might have convinced you to buy into what they're selling. Personally, I'm not convinced. That's just my opinion. And then you have Carmen and Kenzo. I have nothing as well on them. I have nothing. Because as far as I'm concerned, from the moment that I understood that they sort of knew each other prior to entering the villa, the fact that they've coupled up and suddenly Carmen has stopped being as toxic as she was with Victor and Berge to suddenly being sweet and innocent. I don't buy it. The fact that they had an argument that didn't even last a couple of hours or minutes doesn't make sense to me. So now that they're together and they're like, oh, we're lovey-dovey, I'm not buying what they're selling as well. But hey, anyway, the Islanders get ready for bed, and Cass is the last one to enter. But as soon as the lights go out, what do you expect? Everybody's making out in bed. Everybody. Hey, if that's how they, create their connection, hey, it is what it is. So in the morning, everyone is ecstatic that they're going to be going on dates. Leo receives a text message to say they're going on dates, and Bergie and Marco are talking about, if or when he gets married to Hannah, would Bergie attend and stuff? And it's like, well, he's Hannah's brother in the villa, so I would assume he would attend. He says he wants to be part of the wedding party. He doesn't care if it's on the groom's side or on the bride's side, as long as he's involved. So that was cute. And then Cassie receives a text message to say they're going on a date. I loved their date. It was simple but beautiful. It was beautiful because they went on a helicopter ride and went past the villa, and everybody at the villa saw them because they waved. And then they went on a beach. It reminded me of when I went on a holiday to Zanzibar. It was cute. It was really nice, and I really love the maturity that they have. I've said this before. Leo has taken accountability for whatever he did and has really worked hard and continues to work hard to sort of win Cassie over and convince her that he really loves her. I loved his little speech. I love that he's willing. He was more convincing in long distance than Bergie was, because he spoke about the fact that he's about to finish his degree and he's happy to move to Dallas if it means he'll be close to Cassie, but he can work from anywhere. And if Cassie wants to move to New York, he's happy to do that. So whatever she wants to do, he's willing to do to make their relationship work, which sounded more convincing than whatever Bergie was selling to Taylor. I love the fact that he gave this speech and then he asked her to be his girlfriend. It seemed very genuine and very authentic, and spontaneous. So I know he's been thinking about it, but the way he sort of laid it out, it didn't seem like he was prompted by the producer to say, okay, now do it. Now say this. No, I love their connection and how they are so sort of organic and how they don't need to force anything, unlike some of the other couples, which shall remain unnamed. Back at the villa, Carmen receives a text message to say she's going on a date with Kenzo. She's excited. I don't buy them. I'm sorry. I find it difficult to review them because they're totally the opposite of Leo and Cassie. Because everything with them seems staged with Carmen and Kenzo. It seemed like a performance for someone, like they're performing for the viewers to buy into whatever they're selling. And I personally have said this before. I'm not buying what they're selling, so hey, it is what it is. It was cute to see Leo and Cassie return to the villa and tell everyone that they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and the other islanders seemed happy for them. That was sweet, and how excited they were, sort of retelling whatever happened. And then you have Kenzo and Carmen go on their date. You can always tell who the producer's favorites are in how much they spend on the people. In regards to the fact that, okay, fine, they'll say that they flew Leo and Cassie to their date, but the fact that they both had dates on the beach, but one was more elaborately set out than the other doesn't make sense to me. They had this choir sing for Carmen and Kenzo. I don't know them and them choirs. Oh God, somebody needs to stop it. And then they had this setup with the flowers and stuff. It reminded me of Ron, and I've forgotten her name last season on Love Island. And also, I think Sydney and Zay had the same date where there loads of flowers everywhere, and it's just like, okay, hey, it is what it is. Something felt very forced about Carmen and Kenzo's date. Even the speech that Kenzo gave about, wanting to tell Carmen that he loves her and she's all that, and it was just so awkward and so tense. I know it might have been that he's nervous, but uh, I find it difficult to review them just because something is off, and I can't wait for them to start doing interviews, or I can't wait for people to start revealing the truth now that the show is over, and we'll find out exactly if they knew one another before the show or whether this is the first time they've met. The fact that they were talking about children and naming their children and getting engaged, and it's nice, but I think maybe try talking about the real world first, how you're going to function in the real world before you start making up babes and everything else. They got to the villa and they were sort of debriefing and telling everyone. It's the second person to sort of debrief and talk about their date, and Hannah doesn't seem to be bothered or even interested in what they're saying, and it's like, that's not nice. At least fake it, even if you're not happy to be sitting there and listening to it. Or maybe she was just anxious about her date, but something was a bit off. Anyway, Bergie and Taylor receive a text message to say they'll be going on a date, so they get ready. Taylor wears the color that she says Bergie likes the most, and she really looked pretty. He looks different ever since he's decided to grow out his beard. He's really looks different. I liked their date. I did. You can tell the producer spent a pretty penny on it. They spent a lot of money on it. So it's another date that you can see that it was well thought out. Leo and Cassie was just, let's put them in a helicopter, fly them over the villa, and then set them up on one of these little sort of beaches and take it from there. Because Leo and Cassie was very sort of minimalistic. The date itself, the helicopter, I think, was more where the money went than the actual venue where they went to. But hey, it is what it is. While they're on their date, Marco then receives a message to say he and Hannah should get ready for their date. And it's sad because all the girls were excited for Hannah and they were helping her get dressed and stuff. Whereas when everybody else was going on their dates, Hannah was just sitting there as a passenger and just watching everything go by. And it's like, something is a bit off. But anyway, that's just me. On their date, Bergie tells Taylor that he's got a journal that he's been writing sort of letters to his future girlfriend just because this is something that his mom used to do for him. And it was sweet. I thought that was very romantic and very sweet because I was wondering why he was carrying this book, but now it makes sense. I felt like the letter that Bergie read to Taylor was very sweet and heartwarming, and the fact that he believes in love and is really looking for love. So this was sweet. Obviously, he then decided that it was time to ask Taylor to be his girlfriend. It makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense in the sense that given what his granddad said, I think he should have gone home, spoken to his family first, reached an understanding with them before asking Taylor to be his girlfriend. Because now that he's asked her to be his girlfriend, what if he gets home and his family insists that no, you will not be boyfriend and girlfriend with her. We do not like her. You cannot date her. That's it. That will leave Taylor brokenhearted because now she's said that this is her first time having an actual boyfriend, only for that to be taken away from her. If Granddad insists and puts his foot down to say, no, you will not date her anymore, that's going to be heartbreaking. So it was a sweet and it was romantic and it was heartwarming, but I don't know whether this was the time to ask her. I personally feel he should have gone home and spoken to his granddad before deciding anything else. Marco and Hannah, their date was really romantic. It was really romantic and it was well laid out. It seems the producer spent a lot of money, yes, but it seems a lot of thought was put into certain dates and others it was just let's fly them over the islands and then sit them down somewhere and that's it. Because the setup, I think the most expensive setup was Marco and Hannah, followed by Bergie and Taylor, followed by Carmen and Kenzo, and then lastly Leo and Cassie. The fact that Leo and Cassie have given more entertainment, they've been the storyline for the majority of the season, only for them to get that small little date, I don't think was it. Yes, it was romantic that they went in a helicopter, but there should have been more than that. I think that's just my opinion. You can have a different opinion, that's fine. And also Marco asked, Hannah to be his girlfriend, and it's like, oh, why is everybody suddenly asking their girl to be their girlfriend then? Can they not wait until they get into the real world and see if their relationships actually work outside the villa before they decide to make this official? But that could be me. I could be wrong because some of these people live very far apart, so it doesn't make sense, but that's just me. Anyway, Bergie and Taylor are the first to return to the villa. Everybody's ecstatic for them. They're listening to what's happened with their date. They're celebrating the moment for them. And it's nice to see when people are genuinely happy for someone. And this is what happened. And then Hannah and Marco return, and everybody's ecstatic for them. They then let everybody know that they're boyfriend and girlfriend. And I like the fact that Bergie and Taylor didn't take away their moment. They allowed them to sort of talk about their date. And then only when Hannah asked, oh, tell us about your date, did they then open up and discuss theirs, which I thought was very considerate of Bergie and Taylor. I was surprised though that Hannah would have wanted to be the center of attention. The way she quickly diverted to Bergie didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me. But hey, and she was more ecstatic for Bergie and Taylor than she was for everybody else. I don't know whether it's because she's very close to Bergie or I don't know. I really don't know. Anyway, everybody's happy. They're all boyfriend, girlfriend. Everybody's told each other they love each other. So this is amazing for them. The islanders go to bed for the last time in the villa. They're all sort of reminiscing about their time in the villa. And it's so boring an episode given that the people are in the finale. I have a feeling something happened and the producers decided to take it out because With Hannah, yes, we saw her have this picnic with Buggy on the beach, but something is not right. Something must have happened because of the way she behaved the whole day, even before they went for their date, even on the date. She wasn't herself. So I don't know whether she fell out with one of the islanders, whether she had clashed with Marco. Something is not right, but I don't know what it is. And because the producers have decided to edit them in a specific way, we will never know until they leave the villa or until somebody from the cast exposes it. Anyway, so the islanders go to sleep in the morning. You know, they're excited. It's their final day in the villa, and you know, the winner's going to be announced. So we can't take that away. The girls, while they're getting ready, receive a message to say they're going to be pampered. And so everybody's excited. The girls are excited. They run and tell the boys, and then they go to get their dresses. And so while they're getting their dresses, that's when they would normally write sort of a love letter to their partner and stuff. And it's, I don't know. Something is a bit off, given that these people are in the final, they're the final four. The only people that seem to be happy to be there are Leo and Cassie. Everybody else, something is not right. Everybody else is a bit off, but I can't say exactly what it is. So the guys put on their suits and they go and wait for the girls because it's time for the declarations of love. The girls come out. I think some of the dresses were better looking than the others. I think, though I'm not her fan, Carmen's dress was looked beautiful. Also, Taylor's dress looked beautiful. I'm not too sure about Cassie's dress and Hannah's dresses, but hey, that's just my opinion. So all the couples sit down, and the first couple up to read out their declarations of love is Kenzo and Carmen, because when Carmen came out, Kenzo said, "Oh, there goes my wife. I'm going to marry that girl." And it's like, okay, do you? And he spoke about, oh, when I saw you the first time, I had the feels. I didn't say it. There was nothing about him that said he had the feels for Carmen as soon as he saw her. So what did we miss? What did the producers not show us? Because even Carmen is, oh, I knew, I loved you. It's like their declarations and what we've seen personally, what I have seen, don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I know they're always touching each other. I know they're always kissing and they're talking about having children and getting married and stuff. But something is missing in this connection. Something is missing. The math ain't mathing. Something is not right. It's either we missed out quite a big chunk of their connection, or they're playing up specific characters to get the viewers on board. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong. I don't know. I don't know. I'm very indifferent to them. I personally don't see what makes them stand out. So I couldn't care less. Next up is Leo and Cassie. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean. At times when I make a review, I feel guilty because I think, oh, I don't want to be too hypercritical of someone. But the way they spoke about their journey is totally different from whatever Carmen and Kenzo were saying. Because Leo and Cassie spoke about their first meeting at the very first coupling up when the show started. They spoke about Cassie sort of pulling Leo for a chat and how he felt about that. He spoke about their time when, she was away from him when she went to Casamo, his mistakes that he made and how that made him feel. So it's a full circle moment of him declaring to her that this is what we've been through and this is why I love you. This is why I feel the way I do. I know Kenzo spoke about, oh, when you went to Casa, I really missed you. That's when I realized I loved you. It's totally different from what Cassie and Leo did. This is why I say, of all the couples in the final, Leo and Cassie seem the most authentic, most genuine couple, in my opinion. Yours might be different, but in my opinion, there is a lot of sincerity in what they're saying. They're acknowledging their mistakes, they're acknowledging their shortcomings, but they're also appreciative of how that has allowed them to evolve to be the people that they are. Leo spoke about, I came in as a boy and now I live as a man because of all that we've been through. And Cassie said the same thing, and of how as soon as she saw Leo on day one, she had this sensation that, this was going to be her person, and this is why she pulled him for a chat. And they had the conversation, and it sort of makes sense as compared to whatever Carmen and Kenzo were trying to say. I don't know whether Kenzo was sort of getting sort of bits of assistance from his, fellow guys when he was writing his declaration or whatever. But I preferred Leo and Cassie's declaration of love thus far. We'll see what everybody else says. So next up is Bergie and Taylor. If nothing else, I hope Bergie knows he's punching, and I hope his family knows that he's punching, because Taylor's an amazing girl. She walked in, I remember, on day one into Casa, and she said Bergie was someone she was interested in getting to know. We didn't get to see her have conversations with other people, but from the moment she said she liked Bergie and she started talking to him, that's the only person she's focused on. Berge, during his declaration of love, spoke about how Taylor immediately said she was closed off when Scott asked who was closed off. And that made him feel good because most of the girls had sort of been using him to stay in the villa. Well, that's my just summarizing that. So for him to get someone who really likes him and expresses that she really likes him, I think is something new to him. He said even in the real world, he's never experienced this. And so this has been amazing for him. And Taylor, on her part, spoke about Bergie and also brought in the things that he read out in his journal, which I felt was amazing. I felt it was amazing because that showed that she listened to him about wanting to, make chocolate chip cookies with his girlfriend, about wanting to sit in an empty movie theater, about wanting to go home and drink wine. So it showed that she really does like him and she does really listen to him, which for me was heartwarming. I I personally like the relationship Taylor and Bergie have, but do I think they should have been in the final? I don't know. I'll leave it at, because in my opinion, it seems like the producers pushed Bergie from the moment he volunteered himself to go home and leave Anna in the villa. They have pushed him and have wanted him to have the arc story whereby he was this person that nobody wanted. He developed growth and whatever. Because I remember I was one of the people championing for Bergie, so I'm happy to see his growth and his development. Even his physical features, he looks like a totally different man from the man that walked into the villa. But uh, do I think the producers were fair in how they played it out? No, I do not think so. They handpicked someone that they knew would like Bergie to bring in. They brought in Taylor and the other lady, and the other lady turned Bergie down. And so the fact that they were splitting up other couples and yet they were sort of matching people to a specific Islanders so that they could get a shot to get to the final. That I did not like. That I did not like. Because it seemed like people like Harrison or people like Keenan were brought girls, bombshells or casa girls that they knew that would turn the boys' heads, and yet nothing was. And Berkey was brought someone who would like him, and yet people like Destiny were never brought in anyone that would like them specifically. So I feel some type of way about Berkey being in the final. I'm happy for him that he's there, but I hate how it was done. That he got to the final at the expense of other islanders is more or less what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way. Lastly, it's Hannah and Marco. Hannah and Marco spoke about their first impressions when they first saw one another. They spoke about how they've grown as people, how their partners have allowed them to grow or help them grow. They spoke about Marco's mom and how impressed she would be, by the man Marco is becoming, and Marco felt his mom had sent him Hannah. It was an okay speech. It was okay. It's not as bad as Kenzie and Carmen, but it was okay. Marco obviously became emotional about his mom, which is to be expected. But yeah, it was okay. I have nothing much really to say. For me, if I were to rank the declarations of love, I would say that number one, I'll give it to Leo and Cassie. Number two, Bergie. Number three, Hannah and Marco. Number four, Carmen and Kenzo. That's just my impression. That's just my opinion because of the substance or how authentic or genuine it felt. So next up comes Sarah Hyland to announce the winner. Was I surprised with the results? Not really, not really. I think the producers would have preferred maybe for either Carmen and Kenzo to win or Bergie and Taylor. The problem was, had they made Bergie the winner, people would have been in uproar and people might have boycotted the show because it would have been obvious that they were favoring him. Sadly for them, the viewers couldn't get behind Carmen and Kenzo, especially after people found out that they knew each other before they entered the villa. So the fact that they were number four, I'm not surprised. Bergie was number three, I'm not surprised because at the end of the day, they were trying to give him this arc, this growth, this development arc. So it makes sense. Do I feel the right couple won? No, because there are a lot of holes in Hannah and Marco's story in the sense that we didn't see the actual progression of their love story. We saw gaps here and then we saw gaps there. And then there was a bit where all we saw was them having sex or them making out. So for me to say that they've grown, no. Leo, yes, slept with John A consensually, but still at the end of the day, he had more growth and development, and his story came full circle, and it made more sense to someone like me. Even Cass's story made more sense to someone like me than Hannah and Marco. So I don't get how they then came out as the winners. This is something that I'm still struggling to understand. That what is it that the other viewers saw that I didn't see? Because at the end of the day, Cassie and Leo coupled up on day one, and then Anna came into the equation, and Cassie stepped away and tried things with Keenan. It didn't work out. She went to Bergie. It didn't work out. Then she came back to Leo. Leo tried things with Anna. It didn't work out. Then he went to Cassie, and the two of them were fine until we got to Casa. And then in Casa, obviously, Leo had the mishap with Jonah, and then he worked his butt off. He really worked hard to win Cassie. So people criticizing Cassie to say, oh, Leo, in my opinion, has proved himself. He's really understood what he did wrong. He hasn't just brushed it under the rug like Keenan and said, oh, no, it's not my fault. She's the one who was tempting me. No, he's actually taken responsibility for every single thing he's done, and he's apologized countless times to everybody. So for me, I think he was a more deserving winner than Marco and Hannah, just because Marco and Hannah, they coupled up and they seemed very steady. I know people say, oh, you can't criticize a couple because they didn't have drama. It's not that. It's the conversations that I wish we had heard more about. It's only, I think, in the past week where we've heard them talking about where they'll take each other on dates. But outside of that, we really haven't heard a lot from them as a couple. This is why I feel that Leo and Cassie should have won. But at the end of the day, in my personal opinion, mark this down, I have a feeling that Cassie, Leo, Destiny are going to be the most successful Islanders from this season. That's just my opinion. Because with Cassie and Leo, though Leo has made mistakes, Leo has this likability factor that he comes with, that you can't help but love him, even if he's wrong. And Cassie, because she's a free spirit as well. The two of them as a couple are more sort of likable because they're not toxic. Yes, they've made mistakes. They're human beings. They're going to make mistakes, but it's how they've recovered from their mistakes. And Destiny on her part, because of the negativity that she had during the editing, I feel like the moment she starts to tell her story and the moment she tells everything that happened, and all the other islanders, once they start to tell the truth about what was happening with Destiny, I feel like the tide is going to turn and she is actually going to rip the reward of her time in the villa, because in them giving her a negative edit, they made her more popular than even the winners themselves. That's the thing that happened that the producers might not have taken into consideration, that in them giving her the negative edit and her being the one that was constantly being tweeted about on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know. Because she was the one who was in the conversation, be it positive or negative, all the time, I feel she's bound to be more successful than even Hannah and Marco, even though they've won the 100,000. I feel like she's going to be like Serenity last time. She got the negative edit and stuff, but it seems she has done better than some of the Islanders who got a positive edit. But then we'll see how that plays out. I can't wait for the review. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you next time. Bye, everyone.